Hello everybody, this is Synchrosis here. And I'm going to quickly go over, well, I don't know how quickly it'll be. I have a bit of an itinerary here um, where I'm going to be going over some of my thoughts on 2.1 expansion. Not expansion, I guess it's more of an update. But this isn't going to be me just reading the patch notes because you guys can read these. I'm not going to pretend as if you those guys can't. Instead, I'm going to be talking about things that I think are more important. And I'm not going to start with these new skills. I'm going to be instead talking about some of the old skills and how they're going to be changed slightly, and partially because of these new skills. But anyway, let's just start. So let's talk about some of the highest meta current skills. The first off is the simplest to talk about is Explosive Arrow. I don't think Explosive Arrow is going to be changed at all. I don't think they're going to nerf it, and it doesn't get buffed by pretty much anything that we see here. It might with like a damage over time cluster or something, but really, it's not going to like benefit from this necessarily. Rapid decay wouldn't be a bad thing because reduced skill effect duration is nice on it, so that might buff it a little bit. But usually you don't want to scale your damage on burn things with damage over time. You want to scale it with fire damage because that double dips because it increases your burning damage and your initial hit damage. So I don't really think this is going to be too high of a priority. But, I think that Explosive Arrow is mostly unchanged. You normally run the Blood Magic Keystone, so you're not going to utilize something like Blasphemy because you're not going to have any auras anyway. So anyway, let's go to the next one. So Poison Arrow. So they're bringing some more increased damage mods on the tree for Poison Arrow with poison nodes and stuff. I'm pretty sure this cluster right here is like one of the poison nodes, right? So what that means is things that are currently meta to use, like Drill Neck and the Pierce Gem, can end up being dropped because you can get more increased on the tree than you used to be able to get. So you'll be able to use one of these, maybe both of these or something. But that is more of like a 6-link thing than a 5-link thing. So I think that it will be stronger in general as a 6-link, but as a 5-link, I think it's going to be slightly weaker because they are going to nerf Poison Arrow, I'm pretty sure. So I think it's going to be stronger as a 6-link, and it's probably going to be weaker as a 5-link. I don't think they're going to nerf it too hard and kill it, but Oh, and it's not going to be Poison Arrow, it's going to be Caustic Arrow or whatever they're called. Whatever. Incinerate, right? Incinerate's a big one. Initially you see this and you go, oh my god, Incinerate's going to be overpowered. The thing about Incinerate, there's already a useful 6-links on Incinerate, right? If you're going Pure Fire, I think the best form of Incinerate is an Iron Will Incinerator. And at that point, you have Incinerate, LMP, Spell Echo, Faster Casting, Fire Pin, and Iron Will. And if you decide to not go with, if you decide to go like Chaos, you drop Fire Pin for added Chaos. But that's for Iron Will. Now, I think that as an Iron Will Incinerator, the build is weaker because they're going to nerf Incinerate. So I think the build will be weaker. It's still going to be strong. Incinerate's a very strong spell. But I think Incinerate will be weaker as an Iron Will build. However, non-Iron Will Incinerate is probably going to be stronger because as far as 6-links go, you kind of ran out of links, useful links. So I think that non-Iron will be stronger. So I think if you want to do an Incinerate build this league, you might want to do it Evasion based, Acrobatics, and Frenzy Charge based, and go non-Iron Will. Rather than going block high strength. I'm not sure about that. That's going to be my guess though, because that way you use Controlled Destruction instead of Iron Will. You get increased damage mods from all the proj damage on the east side of the tree, rather than getting all of your increase from like Iron Will. Cyclone, I think Blasphemy's flat out makes Cyclone and pretty much all melee skills stronger, right? If they don't change how this currently is right here, you drop Herald of Ash or something like that for permanent curse, even LE weakness, right? You go into your skill, if you have added fire, you drop added fire and you put Fizz to Lightning instead. And now you start skilling your stuff with LE weakness tied to Blasphemy, right? So I think that in general, it's going to be stronger. The thing about Cyclone is they're probably going to nerf it, right? But I don't see a way that they can nerf it big enough because the skill is strong not because of its damage, but because of its utility, because of its the way the skill mechanically works. So I don't think that they can realistically make this skill really much weaker than what it is right now. But if they just nerf damage on it, it's not that big of a deal because it's not strong because of its damage. It's strong because of the mechanics of the skill. Also, we don't know what Blasphemy does with levels, so it might be Curse Effect, right? Actually, I think we do know that. I think it is Curse Effect. Anyway, one point that I did want to make is cast on Crit Cyclone, specifically Discharge, but it could be with Shock Nova, Ice Nova, Arc, whatever. I think that's going to be much, much stronger because you'll be able to run things like Warlord's Mark, Ellie Weakness, Assassin's Mark, any of these things with Blasphemy. And if you're doing Cast on Crit Cyclone, you're going to be blowing up and discharging. And yeah, you'll be able to get quite a bit from there. A second, I need a drink of water. All right. Okay, so there are a couple spells I wanted to throw in here before I talked about spells in general, specifically due to Controlled Destruction. Cold Snap. Cold Snap traditionally is non-crit. How you play it, you go RT with the Romir's Banquet to generate your power charges. And so normally you don't do something like Spell Echo, faster. You can run faster casting, but in general you want to, one hit your packs, right? And I think that you're going to be able to use Controlled Destruction and one hit even stronger because you don't have a ton of links for Cold Snap, So I think Controlled Destruction is going to be great for Cold Snap. It's also going to be pretty good for a cheaper version of a Detonate Dead build because it is incredibly hard to... Actually, wait. I take that back. Never mind. Detonate Dead's non-spell. Anyway, so as far as other spells go, it's just really interesting because we can estimate that it's either going to be like 35, 36, or 45 more spell damage at level 20. We don't know if it increases one per level or one every 2 levels. We don't know that yet. So, but the whole point is either way, that makes up a lot of the damage you lose by going non-crit. So skills that are already low links don't have a lot of links that are useful for it, like Arc. For example, if you're going non-crit Arc, after your 4 link, you start considering throwing in like Empower and Life Leech and stuff. You have your faster casting, Spell Echo, Lightning Pin, right? You're kind of low on links after that. You don't have a lot of choices like Innervate or something, nothing major. This is a new link you could do for a non-crit Arc build. It's a pretty big deal. Certain other skills like Glacial Cascade that have issues scaling because you can't run them with a Penetration Gem are going to benefit a lot from this. Discharge could. Usually you don't go non-crit Discharge, but just throwing it out there. Spells that are hard to scale with links are something you could do with this. I actually had an idea with an RT Discharge with Ramirez generating charges using Blasphemy to throw Assassins, Poachers, and Warlords. It sounds kind of gimmicky, but never know. Anyway, I'm going to start talking about the new skills now because a lot of people are wondering about that type of thing, right? Shrapnel Shot, honestly, looks pretty bad. Looks like a melee version of a bow skill. I don't think that this is going to be good at all, honestly. Sorry to tell you. Blast Rain looks like a confused skill to me. It's like Rain of Arrows and Firestorm mixed together. It's either going to be really good, like Kinetic Blast good, because it looks like it has somewhat similar mechanics, or it's going to be really bad, like Rain of Arrows bad, where it's just not a meta skill. We don't know exact mechanics on the skill yet, but if it behaves like Kinetic Blast, I could see it being quite good, but we kind of have to wait and see. I'm not a big fan of Siege Ballista, personally. It looks alright if you want to do a totem bow build, but I don't know, man. The attack speed is big deal, You're looking at a skill that hits one time for effectively 70% damage, you can say, because it's 50% less, 140% base. That's at rank 1, right? The less might go down and the more in the base damage will go up. So, by end game it might be like 90% effective damage, which is alright until you take into fact like Tornado Shot, I don't know what the exact numbers on Tornado Shot is, but you're hitting targets at least 2 or 3 times. So, I mean, mechanically wise, I don't think the skills are good enough because it is only going to ever hit a target once. So it might be all right for like adding damage to your build, but you have it's going to consume a four link, you know, because you need that Fizz Proj and all of the other links you need to make it actually do damage to begin with. So it's link heavy, and it's probably not going to be worth the time to do. If you're a pure totem build, maybe, but pure totem build means you're most likely going non-crit because you need to be on the left side of the tree to get Ancestral Bond, which means you might as well stay on the left side of the tree and do Lion Eyes build, turning weapon nodes into bow nodes. And at that point, you're losing so much crit. But it's hard to make a non-crit bow build. I've tried. Anyway, it might be alright with Chinsel. You never know. We'll have to wait and see. You can probably make a build that's alright with it, but I don't think it'll ever dethrone one of the best bow skills. So the two Fizz spells, I'm a big fan of Fizz spells in this game because they're so cool to scale with Hatred and Taste of Hate, things like that. But let's talk about these. Blade Vortex is, I think, going to be terrible for self-cast. You're going to sit there and you're just going to spam casting the skill over and over again. It's deep barking dog. Because you need to have multiple up. It's like a SRS type thing. But except for you're not really doing damage unless you're in the middle of the pack casting, which is pretty bad. And as far as crit chance goes, is that one crit? Does it roll a crit for every single time it hits in the 5 seconds? You know, the whole bunch of increased duration, you're going to get like, 12 to something seconds on this. It's just not going to be enough. But you might be able to do some type of cast on crit build. You could do some type of like Fizz cast on crit cyclone build or something, where you use Blade Vortex and Blade Fall and EK. I don't know. Maybe. Right? You can be hopeful about it. I'm not convinced that it's going to be really that good. Some people have said things like totems. Maybe. Totems have slow cast speed though, so it's going to be hard for your totems to actually do damage with this. I'm skeptical if this is going to be any good. Blade Fall. We don't know enough of the mechanics on this, but what it looks like to me is it's going to be akin to a ranged Fire Nova mine. Like they saw Fire Nova mine, they decided that the mechanics of mines are bad, and they made a Fizz spell that's like it. You kind of throw it out in an area and it blows up multiple times. So, I don't know. I think that it's actually going to be alright. If you're familiar with League of Legends, it looks like Gangplank ult, old Gangplank ult. I think it's going to be alright. I don't think the clear speed is going to be anything special on this. So, let's go ahead and move to the next skill. Contagion, I think, is going to be very strong. But I will probably, no promises, but I'm probably never going to make a Contagion build. Reason being is because it's a minimum of a 3 to 4 button build, and I like running less buttons on that. Because you have to run Wither, and you have to run Vulnerability. And that's for most packs. If there's a rare in there, you're going to also want to run Essence Drain as well. So, it's a really cool looking skill, and I think it's going to be quite strong, but it's too many buttons for me, so I'm probably not going to do it. You have it what you will. So, quickly looking at these support gems. I only have a couple parts of this video left I'm going to talk about. I like Control Destruction a lot. I think it's a new meta inspiring, going away from crit builds, going into non-crit builds. I love this gem because it does exactly what I like to do, make stronger. I like going tanky casters, like my Incinerator and stuff, and this allows me to go tanky casters now because now I have 2 gems that reward me for going tanky, right? I have Iron Will and I have Control Destruction now. So it's going to be pretty nice. I like this gem a lot. I'm really happy that they introduced something like this into the game. I think that this is going to be a mainstay. A lot of builds are probably going to use this. So that's cool. These 2 gems, I'm not going to talk too much about them. They're necessary to make Contagion work. Not a whole lot more to say about that. These aren't going to be used in any other build unless they change Viper Strike significantly to not be scaled off Fizz anymore. Neither of these are going to use Viper Strike, and probably neither of these are going to be used in anything else. It Rapid Decay maybe with Explosive Arrow, but I doubt it. Um, as a side note, something really stupid that you can do with Rapid Decay is it's one of the few things that you can have reduced skill effect duration on. So you could link it to a Flame Blast Totem build because you want your duration low enough on Flame Blast Totem to. But anyway, I don't think it's going to be that good on anything besides Contagion and Poison Arrow, of course. But these are necessary for Contagion to even work properly. So I don't think there's too much to say about these. Blasphemy, I think, is amazing. I always think that you can make auras strong. It's fine because there's such a high opportunity cost to making auras valuable. Because you're losing heralds for gaining blasphemy, and in theory, all blasphemy is doing is automating something you do manually. But I love automation. I love having my builds automatically do what's necessary. That's why I like my incinerator. That's why I like my power siphon build. It's so automatic that I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time setting up. It's why I hated my shockwave totem build. So blasphemy is really cool. I really like it, and I think it's balanced because of the fact that it's opportunity cost. Honestly, I think if they come out with this as it is, they're going to have to make heralds more interesting, more valuable. Maybe they reduce the mana reserved back down to 15 or something, but this is going to take the spot of heralds. Any crit build that used Assassin's Mark with Curse on hit, Herald Thunder, Herald of Ice, besides bow builds, all melees and pretty much all spell builds are just going to use Blasphemy with Assassin's Mark now. It's more consistent. You can curse bosses with it, and it's going to be hitting everything that's within your vicinity, so you gain from the extra crit multi and the crit chance from Assassin's Mark. It's a lot more consistent. Plus the mana and life on kill, you're getting all of these buffs rather than just using it to get power charges. So I think that this is flat out better than the old curse on hit setups. So I think it's awesome, but I think that they're going to have to in turn buff the other heralds to make this worth using. So, although one thing about buffing heralds is if they reduce the mana reserved or buff the damage, that makes LA builds even stronger, and I don't know if that's necessary. So it's touchy, very touchy right there. All right, a couple more things I'm just going to talk about. Plus curse items are going to go up, especially wind screams. I think wind screams are going to go up by quite a bit in 2.1. They're actually pretty cheap. I don't know the exact value that they are right now, but they're pretty cheap items. I think they're going to go up a lot because of blasphemy. I think Shaper Seed, that amulet that gives you regen, is going to be a must corrupt item now, because in the past there were 2 good corruptions and now there's 3. You used to good corruptions on it were +1 max res and +1 frenzy charge, because those are really good for Righteous Fire. But now getting +1 curse is a big deal on it too, because Righteous Fire, if you like Righteous Fire builds, do a Righteous Fire build in 2.1, because going blast, because you only really ever utilized one aura, right? You utilized Purity of Fire, you didn't need Vitality. Now you're going to be able to run Blasphemy and dual or tri-curse if you have +1 curse item. Vulnerability, LE weakness, and flammability, right? All more damage scalers on your Righteous Fire. So if you can get a Shaper Seed corrupted with +1 curse, that's going to be huge for Righteous Fire. And any general +1 curse amulets are going to go up. Think Stone of Lazwars, obviously Vol's Devotions. A +1 curse Vol's Devotions is probably going to be like 30 or 40x, I would guess. That's a really big deal now. Along with, what's the other one I was going to say? It doesn't matter. +1 curse amulets are going to be going up in price too. However, I'm not sold on Dweedry rings going up, because they're not that good of a ring to begin with, and they're not rare enough to go up. So they may or may not. I am skeptical to say that they are. Anyway, if you have any more questions about my thoughts on something else, then I'm, interested in answering them. These are going to be quite cool. The threshold gems. I want to see how they work with that. I think this shield is crap. Because it's increased damage sometimes. Why not just run a shield that has damage on it all the time? And then this bow is interesting for EK, but probably not worth ever using on any build. Leveling, it's good, but you could maybe make some weird EK build with, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, thank you guys very much, and I'll catch you next time.